Welcome to the Dance Lens podcast. Today, our guest is Claudia Hilda, a Cuban-born, New York-based movement director, performance, and visual artist whose work embodies an expansive, multidisciplinary practice. Claudia enjoyed a decade-long career as a principal dancer at the Cuban National Company of Contemporary Dance. She's collaborated with renowned international choreographers, visual artists, and filmmakers. She has a master's degree in arts and choreography from Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance in London, and her work has been presented by Brooklyn Academy of Music. She's an awardee of the prestigious Fondation Bernard Grau Académie des Beaux-Arts Choreography Prize. We're here today to talk about her current immersive installation at CARVALHO, Neither Here Nor There, the Migrant Body.
I really enjoy creating that theatrical world inside the gallery, which is kind of lives between spaces, right? It's not the theater, it's not the gallery, but it's kind of very intimate and it feels like a secret to me. So I'm happy to hear that you like it.
It's so unusual. Like the gallery has that performance series and this, it's almost like it's part of it, but it's also part of another world. The work is called Neither Here Nor There, the Migrant Body, and it feels personal and it feels like it's part of the collective. Can you speak to what first sparked the idea for this work?
I think the idea really came from the process that felt almost like mourning an identity. I mean, when you migrate, it's very similar to losing someone. You go through denial, anger, sadness, resistance, and then little by little, you start accepting the new reality and you start surrendering yourself to this new environment. You create a rhythm with it. And as migrant, I've been in constant negotiation with myself and my identity, a process that I already started living in London and I continue when I moved to New York. And it's interesting because after maybe 5 years, now I was ready to approach this experience, be open about it and translated it into an art piece. And I guess with Neither Here Nor There, with the installation, I wanted to speak about this process, about memory and displacement, that in between spaces, here, there, past, present, and what truly means living between that gray area. But also, I didn't want to tap only into the struggles, emotional, physical struggles, but also into the lights and how those moments of discovery.
It really comes through and it merges, for those who haven't seen the work, it merges choreography, sound, projection in an immersive installation. It's like we walk into this dark cave and we see these bodies on another side of a screen reflected in a pool of dark water. It's like very interesting, very surprising. Can you talk to us about your process in creating the piece?
I think there's a thin layer between control and spontaneity in the work. To speak about the movement itself, there was no fixed choreography. Instead, I guided each performer through a process rooted in physical and emotional memory, inviting them to recall sensations of crossing and transitioning and belonging. I was really interested in activating those memories and lived experiences and through them translating them into movement. So I wasn't interested in choreography itself, but more of a lived body movement, right? Something that felt more real. The movement had to feel lived and not choreographed. Sometimes it's pedestrian, sometimes chaotic, sensual, fragile. So I film behind a translucent screen. That's the way I found to approach to this idea of a metaphorical and physical border and create this space between absence, time, memory. The gestures and the body movement of the dancers appear and dissolve just like memory itself. And the work carries this anthropological dimension, not only through the movement, but through the oral history component and all the interviews we created. We interviewed a large number of Latin American migrants, not only in the United States, but in Europe. And they were all true stories. It was so beautiful to reach out to this extended family and extended community and get to the understanding as performers and also as just humans that our bodies are cultural bodies, right? So we carry not only our experience, but the memory of others in our own movement.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I really love it. And I think it's so interesting the arc that your work is going on because your background, you were trained in Cuba at the Cuban National Contemporary School and a principal dancer in the company. And your work has been presented by BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and in Paris. And this is so multifaceted. Was this kind of mixed media work always a part of your dreams for yourself?
I think with time, I've been getting closer and approaching my ideal practice, let's say. Everything has informed the kind of practice I create today. Of course, the 10 years working for the national company and then the masters that I did in arts and choreography in London, which really helped me to approach a more multidisciplinary practice since I worked there with opera singers, theater directors. I collaborated and assisted directing operas over there. So I really connected with all this sense of cross pollination in arts, how theater, the visuality on stage, the music component, everything came together to create one piece, and I fell in love with it. And I always say I translate ideas that come to me, and they always come to me in a different way, and they demand to be brought into this world in a different medium, let's say. So I try to be super disciplined and to translate them as close as they are. Yeah, I think I've come closer to a cross-pollinated art practice, and I'm really happy with it. And I felt at the beginning, when you are a dancer, your mind is closer to the thinking of, am I doing it right? As a dancer, you pursue the technical aspect, you are pursuing perfection. But then I think also with age, you become more courageous. You are more brave to let that perfection go a little bit and coming closer to the creator's mind. I feel more calm, letting that go and coming closer to intuition, and everything comes together somehow. You gotta trust that process.
Do you have dreams for what kind of dialogue you'd hope your work opens across borders, across disciplines, across generations?
I hope my work opens dialogues about belonging, about who and what gets to belong and where. I mean, if it can open questions rather than give answers, I feel it's already doing something meaningful. But I'm also mainly interested in creating spaces of softness. As artists, I believe we hold a kind of feminine energy in the world, not necessarily in terms of gender, but sensitivity, intuition, emotional intelligence. It's an energy that balances the harshness and the speed of the world we live in. So if my work can invite people to pause, to feel, to reflect in that kind of soft energy, I think that's the most powerful dialogue.
And you've spoken before about feminism and migration as parallel themes. Is that informing this work as well?
It's a side of constant negotiation between strength and fragility, control, surrender, belonging, displacement. For me, it's a question of embodiment. I just remember I had a teacher. He always say, do not tell me who you are, show me who you are. So that gives me that sense of owning, embodiment.
How are things in Cuba? You just got back.
Things are completely terrible. Cuba feels like a place that God forgot about, that he didn't remember about Cuba anymore. And it feels like it's a war zone, completely war zone without bombs. There's no medicines, so hard to find food. Every day is a completely struggle. There's no real life, there's only surviving. It honestly, it looks and it feels like Palestine without the bombs, which is a completely nonsense. And I have no idea how we got into that, how we let that happen, how we became so numbed somehow that we couldn't even say something or do something. Yeah, it's very hard when governments and societies they take the power of saying something. And I guess I'm really worried that's going to happen here at some point because I'm seeing the story kind of rewrite. So I'm very worried about what is the right place to live in and where I want to be, where I want to grow. I don't know. It's everything so scary, honestly.
I think you're not alone in those feelings. I think a lot of people are scared right now, and we are seeing history's repeats itself.
It's just repeating and repeating. And apparently, we're unable to learn the lessons.
Yeah, well, if you read enough of human history, you see the cycles just over and over and over. Some things seem to have changed. Like there's certain kinds of violence that are no longer acceptable, like across all societies. But like the fundamental themes don't seem to change. And it's like there are these two extremes, like profound, unimaginable violence for the sake of power. And then on the other end of that extreme is, art and thought. And it's like those two things travel through time. And then in the middle is survival, like carrying water, chopping wood, making the breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking that for me, still the hardest part of living in between is crossing these geographical two places, which are so radically different, like communism, capitalism, scarcity, consumerism. It's just too radical switching from one place to another. And in both places, they are imperfect, of course. There's no perfect place. But even though they are radical different, I see there's so much cruelty in both of them. It's so hard to find the balance and equilibrium, social, political. I don't know. I have so many questions.
One question is, as an artist, for you, your work is inherently political because of where you come from and what you've gone through. What do you think the role of the artist is in times of collective suffering or collective conflict?
When someone asks me about legacy or what you're leaving behind, I always say I'm a holder of the soft energy, right? As I mentioned before, to hold that soft energy and bring it into a space and open questions and or just to allow people connect to the more human side, the more poetic or abstract side. It's an achievement already because there's so much violence, urgency, disruption. This heavy energy is just possessing all of us. So creating spaces where you feel at ease, that you feel you're connecting with that female, more soft energy in you, it's an accomplishment. It's a big goal, I believe, in my art practice. So that's why before I was speaking about intimacy and creating also these spaces that feel so intimate that you are almost whispering with the art piece. I was thinking about your question about scale and silences, how I approach that in the artwork, in the installation. And I believe for me, the strategy of creating life size human figures, this 24 feet wide piece, 8 feet tall installation, when people approach these human sized bodies, the scale for me feels like a scream, like, hey, because it's really big, the piece. But then, because all the movement is so subtle and so minimal, it's almost like a whisper. It's like a silence. These life-size bodies are inviting the audience to come closer and to really understand what's happening there. What are the movements? Are they pedestrian? Are they more performative? Are they chaotic, sensual? So it's kind of a discovery. You're discovering the piece layer by layer. And then because of the pieces inviting the audience to come closer to the installation, I believe that is the moment, the most important moment of the piece is when the audience is facing the piece itself, because it's the moment two groups of people are facing each other, divided by this body of water I created for the reflection. And it's speaking this two divided group of people trying to reach out and trying to understand each other. And there's the border, right? There's the body of water speaking about maybe Rio Grande or the oceans that migrants has to cross. But that sense of silence you mentioned into the piece, maybe it's an emotional silence as well, physical silence in the stillness of the water and the movement. And I think they're very important. I like to think about the water as that inverted cosmos of the piece, that you look down in order to understand what is above.
What are your dreams for your work for the future?
I'm not sure. I want to create works that feels contemporary, that feels completely contemporary, that they belong to the now, but also somehow that they feel timeless. That would be my biggest achievement. When I look at my big influence, I don't know, Pina Bausch, let's say, Dimitri Papayanov, who is a Greek choreographer who used to be a designer and he ended up being a choreographer. When I think about Ana Mendieta or Marina Abramovich, those work for me, they are, let's say, shapeless. They could exist in a theater, they could exist in a museum, in a gallery, in a public space. It doesn't matter where you place them. It's about the excellence of the work, right? It's timeless. They all feel contemporary, even were some created 20 years ago. But also has this professor who said you have to approach art as if you were a doctor having an open heart operation, right? It's super serious what you're doing. You have to do your work as if your life would depend on it. And that really stick with me. And every time I create a piece, the commitment is so high. Like if my life would depend on it, like if I have to save someone. And somehow when I see these pieces of Pina Bausch and Dimitri and Ana Mendieta, I feel that deep commitment is not only tried approach, but it's something, an investment and a commitment to their own ideas and yeah, the connection to the divine somehow, which I'm really attracted to.
Well, I think it comes through in your work.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really love the piece. It's called Neither Here Nor There, The Migrant Body. It's an immersive installation at CARVALHO, the gallery in Brooklyn, just through the end of the month, but hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of your work soon.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you for inviting me and for opening this conversation and for forcing me to speak in English in public. I really appreciate your work and I believe it's so inspiring and so necessary today. I think you're elevating the dance community. You know, you're opening it to everybody and you're bringing so much information that even for me is new. So I'm really grateful to you and your work.
That means so much to me, especially from you. Thank you. If you like this and you want more incredible dance content, join us on the Dance Lens free Substack for articles, videos, reviews, podcasts, and more. Find the Substack in the link in the profile. Thanks for listening. I'm Cynthia Dragoni, The Dance Lens.